back to another impactful night of the Impact Education Leadership. This episode 222. I'm your host, 934, Dr. Isaiah Jerome III. Today's topic is strengthening school success. This topic means a lot to me because it is so vital for today with all the changing things that's happening. In today's dynamic educational landscape, effective communication is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. Whether you're leading a small rural school or a sprawling urban campus, strong internal and external communication is essential for promoting academic achievement, for fostering community trust, and building a positive school culture. I was recently finishing up on a book by Dr. Anthony Muhammad about school cultures. He talked about the 3Ds. I loved it because it explained so much to me what happens on a day-to-day in the school environment. And the 3Ds were defamation of character, distractions, and then disruptions. And if you like to know more about that, go out there and get that book, Cultivating School Cultures, and you can read it. It's very explicit. It is a great read. So this topic that I'm talking about tonight explores how to develop and implement, if you will, strategies for systematically communicating both internally, that's within the school, and externally with families, stakeholders, and the broader community. Now, keep this in mind. We have to start small, stay consistent, and build a culture where everyone's voice matters. And that's true diversity. So I would say that communication is not only key, but communication is the backbone of a well-functioning school. Internally, it ensures alignment among administrators, teachers, and staff. This is aligned to the campus needs assessment. This is also aligned to what Dr. DeFore would say, the 4 pillars: mission, vision, commitment, and goals of that campus. And then externally, it builds trust with families, and it garners community support, and it increases transparency, and that builds trust. When communication is systematic and strategic, it does a few things. It reduces confusion and misinformation. It enhances team collaboration. It encourages parental engagement. It improves student outcomes, and it supports crisis management and change initiatives. These are the best practices, best research-based responses. Make sure that your message is key. Bring those key messages in by quarter, meaning back to school or testing or graduation, to limit the frequency of those messages. Also, using preferred communication tools like social media or emails, newsletters, or even the school website. Being responsible for meeting those timelines, meaning if you are doing a newsletter and you have it to be set at a certain date, make sure it is going out on that date. When you do this, you leverage multiple communication tools by building parent portals and apps to keep grades and attendance and messages accessible for the parents. And you also support parents and stakeholders by making it multilingual. Using multilingual communication ensures materials and meetings accommodate your campus language diversity. Other avenues of communication should be social media. Social media is a powerful platform like Twitter or Facebook or X, even Instagram. This gives parents real-time updates, and it highlights celebrations that brings the campus together when we celebrate one another's cultures. Community newsletters are a very powerful tool because it shares student achievements. It shares upcoming events and ways the community can support or participate, which is powerful for school culture. Another way of communication is two-way communication opportunities, and finding overall which avenue of communication works best for those stakeholders is key. Whether it's town hall, parent forums, or even community coffee invites. But you're opening up a dialogue where those parents feel comfortable. Maybe it's a virtual Q&A session, but you're increasing accessibility and reducing barriers to engagement for those stakeholders, which builds a stronger school culture. Even surveys or polls collect data that's meaningful for your campus needs improvement so that you can adjust as the year goes by, making sure that it's aligned not only with the climate culture, but also with the district policies and the state and federal laws. How would you address critics who claim that the focus on communication might divert attention and resources from other vital areas of student support and instruction? Again, this goes back to communication and establishing clear communication channels, whether it be digital platforms, again, the use of consistent tools like emails, Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, or school-wide apps like Remind, Class Dojo. But you have established norms and you are establishing routines that are updated. Another clear communication channel would be weekly staff newsletters, providing key announcements, events, and shout outs to foster that transparency and appreciation. Daily or weekly briefings, even short meetings, help clarify expectations and reinforce alignment on goals and priorities. And so I would define communication protocols as setting those types of norms and giving response time for, I would say, 24 hours. And when feedback occurs, then identifying what gets communicated via email versus in meetings, and versus training staff and how to, I would say, escalate concerns or even share feedback, giving every stakeholder a voice. And this will foster a feedback culture, a feedback behavior. Also in the book with Dr. Anthony Muhammad, he talked about culture versus climate. And he said that culture is a behavior, but climate is a perception. It's an emotion. It's how people feel. And so when fostering a feedback culture, the best practices to use is surveys or suggestion boxes, comment boxes, or regular listening sessions to collect staff input, or even acting on feedback to show value and trust. But what this does is it establishes staff committees to increase participation in decision making, meaning that when decisions are made, it is shared decision making, not just one person. And if the decision making is shared, then not only will you have buy-in, but you have ownership and you have support, and it works. It gives fidelity to an initiative because now you can facilitate and you can build leadership capacity in those individuals that are on board, whether it's the site-based decision-making team or advisory team. But those stakeholders help align communication with the vision and goals of the school or the campus. And you do this by making sure every message reinforces the school's mission and goals. And you use data to guide this. You use data dashboards or brief reports to communicate progress on key initiatives. Talking about culture, talking about discipline, talking about behavior. When these systems are set up the right way and they're explicit and they're targeted and they're systematic, then those MTSS and SEL and academic achievements are better monitored, better progressed, because now you can measure and give matrix to student growth in those areas. And this builds engagement not only to students, but also to the students' families and the communities. And when you are engaging with families and communities, the best way to communicate to them is identify your audience. And how do you do that? Well, different stakeholders require different approaches. A parent or a caregiver is a different approach or different audience than a local business and community partner. And a parent and caregiver is, in most cases, a different voice than a school board member or trustee. And a parent and caregiver most definitely has a different voice than a media outlet or even a local influencer. And so when you are gathering input from all of these stakeholders, this is what you use as data to create a school communication plan. A school communication plan will either make or break your campus. These plans typically are developed a year long, and it outlines the strategies and the systems that are set in place. One of my professors at Texas A&M said you have to have three things in order to make a plan work. You got to have the right people, you got to have the right system or processes, and then you have to have the right program. And so assigning leadership roles is vital, and giving them their descriptions is even more vital, because you have to appoint a communications lead or team to monitor consistency and effectiveness. But it means nothing without them knowing what their role is. And so designating point persons for external media, family engagement, and crisis communication, and monitoring and evaluating throughout the year are some of the best strategies to systematically make these communication plans work. And so this is a old type of saying in the school realm, and that is inspect what you expect. When you use analytics like email open rates, notifications, social media engagements, parent surveys, participations, we are measuring our outreach. When we conduct quarterly reviews to adjust and improve strategies, we are compiling this data and using this data to make adjustments, to revise our plans. When we are providing training, we are offering professional development and effective communication, especially from the front office staff members to the teachers. Everyone is aligned to the campus vision, the campus mission, the campus commitment to our student needs, and the goals that we have selected. And so a campus without goals is just dreams. So we have to train staff on using these techniques and strategies to reach those goals, whether it's using technology tools and maintaining confidentiality and professionalism, or whether it is building a team for crisis communication. There has to be templates that have been developed before the year starts, protocols for emergencies, like weather, like violence, like health threats. The education system in America has been so hard-trodden. Why? Because we have so many complexities now. We have school violence, we have school shootings, we have school bombings, and this has changed the fabric of what we have dealt with in the past. So we must ensure that every stakeholder knows their roles during a crisis. This is paramount, and that is student safety. The most important thing for a student to learn is to make sure that they're safe. And so when developing these communication plans, we must develop and implement communication strategies that's intentional, and take that intentionality, but return it with investment. That is time, that is sweat, that is tears for it to work. And most importantly, collaborate. This is how we can strengthen school success moving forward as stakeholders. We are invested in student learning. And when communication is proactive, when the communication is transparent, when communication is inclusive, it fosters trust, it builds unity, and it accelerates student success, which closes the student achievement gap. Listen, this has been another impactful topic for the Impact Education Leadership. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, follow us.
Educational Leadership Podcast. Facebook,